Well, we are back and diving into the final part of this incredible journey, taking up your cross and following. It's amazing how this text just keeps unfolding, isn't it?
It's powerful stuff. And this last section, it's where things get really real.
No kidding. It's like the text is saying, all right, you ready? Let's talk about what it really means to follow this path. We're talking about facing opposition, navigating those times when people just don't get us, and those moments when staying true to what we believe feels like, well, climbing a mountain. And all of that is packed into this final part.
It's intense for
Totally.
Yeah.
But also, I think, really important. Because life is intense sometimes, right? And this text isn't shying away from that. It's using these intense scenes, these powerful images, to help us understand how we can find strength and meaning even in the toughest times.
And it jumps right into it, too. The Soldiers and Scourgers section talk about a powerful image.
Right. I mean, talk about a reality check. It's like, bam, welcome to the spiritual boxing ring.
Yeah.
But honestly, who hasn't felt that way at some point? Like you're facing down opposition, whether it's those external forces, the naysayers, the doubters, or even just those internal doubts that can feel like an army of their own.
Absolutely. And I think what's so important about how this text frames these soldiers and scourgers is that it's not about avoiding these challenges altogether. It's about how we face them. It's like those soldiers, they're not there to scare us off, but to remind us that standing firm in our convictions, holding on to what we believe, it requires courage. It's like putting on armor, preparing for battle. But what does that spiritual armor actually look like? Like in a practical sense. It's such a powerful metaphor, isn't it? But instead of thinking of a literal suit of armor, I like to think of it as building resilience.
Oh, I like that. Building resilience. Tell me more about that.
Well, it's about cultivating those inner resources that help us weather the storms. It could be through prayer, finding support within our faith community, or even just practicing mindfulness to quiet those inner critics.
Yes. Quieting those inner critics, because that's often half the battle, isn't it?
Oh, absolutely. It's not about becoming invincible, but about developing that inner strength to keep going, even when things get tough.
And sometimes, just knowing that others have walked similar paths, faced their own metaphorical soldiers, that can make all the difference. It's like, okay, I'm not alone in this.
Exactly. Because resilience often comes from knowing we're not alone in those struggles. But facing opposition is only one part of the journey. The text then takes us on an uphill climb, and this is where things get really interesting.
I have to admit, when I first read that section title, I was like, okay, that's a little on the nose with the metaphor, don't you think? But then it hit me. Isn't that exactly what it feels like sometimes? Living a life of purpose, staying true to ourselves, it can feel like an uphill battle.
It absolutely can. And the text uses the image of Golgotha, Calvary, and actual hill, a place of immense suffering to drive home this point.
It's like it's saying, this path you're choosing, it's not always going to be easy. But then there's also this sense of, but it's so worth it, right?
Yeah, exactly. It's a deliberate choice to keep climbing, even when it's hard, because we know there's something more, something greater waiting for us at the top.
So how do we do that? How do we reframe those challenges, those uphill climbs, as something other than just plain hard? How do we find that motivation to keep going when everything in us is screaming, just stay put, it's easier down here?
I think it's about remembering why we started climbing in the first place, right? Like, what is that view from the top that we're striving for?
It's about the growth we experience along the way. Think about actually climbing a mountain, the physical challenge, the mental fortitude it requires. It's not just about getting to the summit, is it?
It's about the journey, right?
Exactly. It's about the perseverance we cultivate, the lessons we learn during the ascent. And when we finally reach the top, that sense of accomplishment, there's nothing quite like it. And knowing we didn't give up, even when it was tempting to turn back. But sometimes the challenge isn't just the climb itself, is it? Sometimes it's the people around us, those who don't quite understand what we're striving for. Which leads us to the mourners who don't understand section, which I have to say, really struck me.
It's such a powerful and I think relatable concept. The text uses the mourners who, even in their grief, misunderstood Jesus' mission. They couldn't see what he was really about.
It's like they were so focused on their own pain, their own limited understanding, that they missed the bigger picture entirely.
Exactly. And that can be so hard, right? Because we want to share these parts of ourselves, these things that are so meaningful to us with the people we care about. But sometimes it feels like we're speaking different languages.
Totally.
Yeah.
And it's not even always about differences in beliefs or values. Sometimes it's just about those limitations of perspective.
It's so true. Like those mourners, blinded by their grief, they couldn't see beyond their immediate pain.
Okay, so how do we relate this back to our own lives? Are we those mourners sometimes? Or are we the ones being misunderstood?
I think it's safe to say we've all experienced both sides of that dynamic at some point, haven't we? Think about a time when someone you cared about made a choice you just couldn't understand.
Oh, yeah.
Maybe it was a career change, a move, a commitment to a cause that didn't resonate with you at all.
Or maybe it was our own choices that others struggled with. I know when I made the decision well, let's just say it was a big leap of faith not everyone in my life understood.
Right, and that's the heart of this section, isn't it? Recognizing that misunderstanding often stems from a difference of perspective. It's not about judging those who don't get us, but finding compassion for their limited view. And at the same time, having the courage to stay true to our own path, even when it's met with confusion or resistance.
Oh, I love that. Compassion for their limited view. Because it's
Yeah.
so easy to get caught up in feeling judged or misunderstood that we forget that everyone is coming from their own unique experiences and perspectives.
Exactly. It's about recognizing that we're all on our own journeys, and sometimes those journeys take us in different directions.
And that's okay. Sometimes those paths even converge again later on, right?
Absolutely. But it requires a certain level of self-belief, a deep-seated conviction that what we're pursuing is worth the challenges, the misunderstandings, and even the potential for sacrifice.
Which brings us to the next section of the text. A very public execution, where things, well, they take a bit of a somber turn, don't they?
Yeah. This section is definitely a stark reminder that following this path, staying true to ourselves, it doesn't come with a guarantee of comfort or ease. In fact, it might lead us directly into situations that require great sacrifice.
It's like the opposite of all those, follow your bliss messages we hear all the time.
Yeah.
This text is saying, hey, buckle up, it's going to get bumpy.
It's refreshing in a way, isn't it? Because it's honest. The reality living a life of purpose, of aligning our actions with our values, it will lead us to places of discomfort, of challenge.
Okay, so how do we reconcile that?
Yeah.
This idea that following this path might actually lead to more hardship, not less. What are we supposed to take away from this?
That's where this analogy of the crucifixion becomes so powerful. It's not about glorifying suffering, but recognizing that sometimes the most profound growth emerges from those experiences that test us the most.
It's like we don't seek out suffering, but we don't shy away from it either. Because it's often in those moments of breakdown, of confronting our deepest fears and vulnerabilities, that we discover a strength we never knew we possessed.
Beautifully said. It's in those moments of choosing courage over comfort, of facing our fears head on, that we truly discover who we are.
It's like we have to be willing to surrender to the process, to let go of who we thought we were in order to embrace the fullness of who we're becoming.
Yes, it's in those moments of letting go that we create space for something new, something more authentic to emerge.
Okay, so we've talked about facing opposition, navigating uphill climbs, finding peace amidst misunderstanding. And now the text gets surprisingly practical, offering practical steps for daily victorious living.
Right, because we can't just talk about these big concepts without offering some tools for actually integrating them into our lives, right?
Exactly. It's one thing to talk about facing our metaphorical soldiers, but how do we actually do that?
Right. So the first step the text offers is navigate challenges with faith, which sounds great in theory, but what does that look like in practice?
It's like we're finally tying it all together. As we dive into this last section, I'm struck by how this text manages to be both comforting and challenging at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
It's not sugarcoating the difficulties, but it's also not leaving us without a sense of hope.
It's a tough needle to thread, and I think this last part does it beautifully. It circles back to those powerful images we've been unpacking, the soldiers, the uphill climb, those mourners, but it offers a fresh perspective.
It's like it's saying, remember all those challenges that we talked about?
Mm-hmm.
The ones that might have made you want to just crawl under a rock and hide?
Mm.
Yeah, those weren't just random events. They're all part of something much bigger.
Yes. They're woven into the very essence of what it means to live a meaningful life. Facing opposition, those uphill climbs, the people who just don't get it, it's all part of the journey.
And it's not even about whether we experience these things, right? It's about how we move through them, what we learn, how we grow, and what we choose to create from those experiences.
And that brings us to that final, powerful image, which I have to admit really stopped me in my tracks. A very public execution. It's such a stark image, so unsettling, but also incredibly symbolic.
I know, right? It feels like we've journeyed through all these challenges, faced down our fears, climbed our mountains,
Yeah.
and now we're hit with this image of ultimate sacrifice. It's heavy stuff. So what are we supposed to do with that? What's the takeaway here?
Well, I think it's about recognizing that sometimes true growth, real transformation, requires a kind of death. Not a literal one, of course, but a letting go.
A letting go of what?
A letting go of old patterns, limiting beliefs, maybe even those versions of ourselves that no longer serve us.
So it's like we have to be willing to surrender, to be vulnerable, to step into the unknown, even if it feels like a kind of death.
Exactly. And I think that's where the public aspect of the execution adds another layer of meaning.
Oh, interesting. Tell me more about that.
It's acknowledging that sometimes this process of letting go, of transforming, it's not pretty. It's not always comfortable. It can be messy, public even. But it's in those moments of vulnerability, of raw authenticity, that we often discover our greatest strength.
It's like the text is saying, look, this path you're on, this path of growth and authenticity, it might require you to show up in ways that feel uncomfortable, vulnerable, exposed even. But it's in those moments, when you're willing to be your most authentic self, that you truly inspire others to do the same.
Beautifully said. And that's where the eternal promise the text keeps referencing comes in.
Ah, yes, the eternal promise. What is it about that phrase that feels so weighty?
It's not about some reward in a distant afterlife. It's about the transformative power of living in alignment with our deepest truths, right here, right now. It's about the ripple effect that our courage, our willingness to be vulnerable, has on the world around us.
Wow. Okay. I don't know about you, but I am feeling incredibly moved by this conversation. We've covered so much ground, from facing opposition to embracing vulnerability and finding meaning in the most challenging experiences.
It's been quite a journey, and it's one that doesn't end when we press stop on this recording. The real work begins when we take these ideas and apply them to our own unique lives.
So true. So as we wrap up this deep dive, we want to leave you with a question. What resonated most deeply with you today? What insights will you carry with you from this conversation?
Because sometimes the most powerful transformations happen not in the grand pronouncements, but in those quiet moments of reflection when we allow ourselves to really absorb and integrate what we've learned.
Yes. So thank you for joining us on this incredible exploration. Until next time, keep asking those tough questions, keep seeking those aha moments, and keep journeying onward.